Hello, welcome to the Hat on Head News Cabin. Right now in this video, I'm going to bring you a bunch of data. The first bunch of data I think is there's too much there in these graphs. It doesn't really give us a good picture of what's going on. This is all coronavirus data. And then I'm going to show you some Worldometers graphs that we haven't looked at before. So the first part here is an article. And first, when I was looking at this, I thought that this data here was really interesting, but the more I tried to figure out what was going on, I realized I just think that what they're trying to do, although the intent is good, which is for one to smooth out the data for a 3D period, a 3-day period, and the second thing is to measure the percentage of change, the percentage of increase or decrease, right? So I think both of those goals are good, but I think because there's so much going on, the point of this type of data visualization is to help you understand, and I just don't think that this does that. So here I'll explain. So you have the increase or decrease in deaths per day, and that's smoothed out over 3 days. And then here we have the average number of deaths per day. So if it's going to go up and increase out, and then it's going to go back over here, and then by the end of it, it will come back down. So that would be the progression. And this one right here is for the 23rd of January to April 2nd, and then this one down here is one step further. So we're looking at the US having come all the way around here, and now we're going to see we've seen a decrease in the amount of deaths per day, so that puts us over here and back down. Now this next one so this is basically, this one does show us that it's basically giving us a good look at the change in the percentage of increase or decrease. And then this last one here, I mean, there's just, so this is China right here. They're trying to make correlations with the different things that they did, which allowed them to not go over up here where we went. Now, but there's other things, is because we're looking at this data, and we're also not confident that, for example, with Germany, that we're getting the real numbers. So that's another thing that makes it so that, in my opinion, with these graphs here in this article, and I'll read the start of it, I'll read just the first 2 paragraphs. Almost as soon as the COVID-19 pandemic began, graphs and many other visualizations charting the rise of the virus started to multiply. Many show the cumulative number of deaths attributed to the virus. This number, of course, will always rise, but will also eventually plateau. A cumulative total can never fall. Others published graphs have shown the number of deaths reported each day for various countries. These are more useful, but the reader is still left trying to discern the extent to which the rise from one day to the next is larger or smaller. And that's what they've done with these graphs, and that I do understand. I guess, to me, I really think it might be I'm just not smart enough to take a lot of value out of it. I just also think data is all about clarity, and to me, there is not enough. It's not clear what would a baseline be, what would a baseline look like for us to be able to compare and make good conclusions. So that's my, I have to say, even though I really respect this author for doing it, and I also looked, I don't think this is clickbait, some putting out random graphs. I think that this is good research by this guy here, Danny Dorling at the University of Oxford. I just think that the way I see it, there's too much going on here to get to be able to draw conclusions, basically. But it is definitely worth taking a look at, and it goes over the mortality rate, the mortality of COVID-19 in this period. All right, and now I'm going to take a look at what I consider to be really clear, concise graphs that we can discern a lot of information out of. So this one right here is the cumulative number of cases by number of days since the 10,000th case. So really here we look at the United States just going straight up. Now here's my point about there's so many different things already, even with something that's as simple as this. Is this attributable to the fact that we have been testing a lot? You know, and so on that one, the deaths would be more, I think, indicative. But then again, with Germany not reporting their deaths as deaths from COVID-19, again, another thing. So to me, it's like these graphs are already, it's enough to try and figure out from this type of stuff what's going on, not to add in a different type of comparison. So, all right, and here's with the deaths. So that's number of deaths by number of days since the 100 deaths. So it's just going straight up. I mean, look, Iran was really able to see. So again, do we think that this number is correct? Germany. Again, here's some data that really just helps you understand what's going on with this pandemic, who's dealing with it. We have the largest cases here in the United States. It's not surprising if you think of, I guess, how important the American economy, that whatever pandemic is going on, it's going to come back and be really active and bounce around a lot in the United States, and then specifically in New York. This is really interesting. This shades darker as the amount of cases increase. So we're just gonna. Here's the total cases. So yeah, I mean, it's coming. And so these are all encouraging numbers. But yeah, for me, that was interesting to look at what I consider to be some graphs where there's just too much going on each axis for your mind to really do anything with that information. To me, if you look at, because you had the percentage of decrease going on this side, it could zigzag back and forth even though it's still going up. So those three graphs to me, although they're interesting to look at, and right away you're like, ooh, what is this? Because if you're like me, you're interested in data, and this is how we're going to piece together what happened in this pandemic, and for us to be able to learn from it. One thing that I found really interesting is that that pandemic that happened all the way back, they had masks on. We saw pictures of them wearing masks, so they knew that they needed masks. And now in 2020, it took 2 months to figure out that we needed to wear masks. So again, yeah, but thanks for joining me, taking a look at all this data. Make sure you keep your hat on your head.